Now you're either watching this video because you want to see how to achieve the look of this horn setup on your car, or it's because your horn is faulty or misbehaving. Oh, you dick! Oh, yeah! So stick around to watch the rest of this video to see how to make your car look and sound horny again. How's it going? I'm Kev and this is North Coast Workshop where you'll find content on car modification and DIY. Now, car horns over the years can become either temperamental, they can start to sound funny, or they can fail altogether. And here in the UK, if your car horn isn't working properly, that's a fail for your MOT. So in today's video what we're doing is changing the car horns on the car and also relocating them both to behind the grille on the front bumper as well at the same time to make it a visible modification. Now this is totally optional, you don't have to do this yourself at all. What you can do is just basically change your car horn over and that's it, leave it in place. But I've seen this modification on a lot of Mark II Leons where it's two of the horns in behind the centre grille on the bumper, and I want to do it myself and then share my process with yourselves on YouTube. Obviously if you have a different car altogether then it's no big problem, it's just basically you have to adapt it to the best way it fits on your car. So look at the bumper, decide what grills you want to have your horns visible behind, and then just pick mounting points at the same time as well. I'll leave chapters down below so you can skip to the parts you want to see exactly in case you've done certain parts of this process already. And I'll leave a thing on the side of the screen here just now, a few fault finding things you can check off before you actually go and replace your horn, because it might not be the horn itself that's not working. So give these a check first just in case it's those things that are causing the issue. Right, let's get started on this horn modification. So to get the horns off, it's easiest with the front bumper out of the way. So to do this, there's 4 bolts inside the engine bay. And I did manage to break one of the bolts inside the engine bay, so that'll be a job later on to remove that broken bolt. And then in the wheel arches, there's various screws as well holding the back of the bumper on. So I then lay this cupboard down on the ground under the front bumper, and this just took the weight of it as I pulled it off the front of the car so that I could disconnect the pipes for the washer jets, the parking sensors, and the cabling also for the fog lights. So with the bumper removed, you can now see 2 red horns that I installed a few years ago. These were to replace the original horns that failed on the car. I didn't cut off the original connectors for those horns, I left them in place. And if you've ever noticed this sensor here and not been sure what it is, it's basically your outside air temperature sensor. And yes, my crash bar is very rusty, and I think at a later date might be a wee future project to take this off and get it sprayed. Now I'll leave links down below in the description for the stuff I did use. I didn't use all this stuff listed here in front of you, but I just prepared myself just in case. So we've got some black plastic tubing, some 2-core wire, a box of various electrical connectors, some heat shrink tubing, some wire strippers and wire crimpers, and some bags of Scotch Locks. And of course the box of Twin Hella Horns. Now these are available in different colours, so obviously shop around for the colour that best suits your car. So first to get the old horns off, so take off the nut and then remove them and cut the 2 wires off. And then prepare these 2 wires then with new connectors that will connect onto the wiring that go to the new Hella horns. With the length of wire and plastic tubing that I had, I just found the halfway point and cut them. I then prepared one end of the wire with 2 new connectors and then fed the other end through the plastic tubing. I then drilled 2 holes up here on the plastic, and this should hold the plastic tubing with cable ties. Now I'll leave the cable ties a bit slack just now because you might need to adjust the length of the tubing on either end, so don't tighten them up properly. I then just fed the plastic tubing around various parts of the crash bar here and secured it safely with cable ties, so it looks nice and neat. Once I knew how much plastic tubing and wiring needed at the other end, I then cut off the excess and then trimmed back the wires and put 2 spade connectors on as well to join onto the ones I prepared earlier. Now can you spot the mistake? We're going to come back to this point in a wee while. So today's video is actually sponsored by me. Yes, North Coast Workshop is sponsoring this video with its merchandise. So I was in the garage, 3 degrees, fitting these horns to the car, absolutely freezing, so nothing better than having a nice warm North Coast Workshop hoodie on, and also a travel mug filled with a nice warm cup of tea. So if you're keen to check out yourself, you can go online, there's a link down below in the description, go and check out the merchandise page. If you buy anything at all, I'll give you a shout out, and anything bought from the page is much appreciated. It helps me out, it supports the channel, so yeah, I do appreciate any purchases made. Right, back to the video. Now to put the bumper back on, and we're going to be looking through the front grille to see roughly the position that we want to have these 2 horns. I did pop a bit of masking tape at the front of the engine bay here to try and keep me right as into where they want to be lined up. Back off of the bumper now again to put the horns up onto the plastic to see roughly where they're going to sit, and using masking tape to hold them in place, Then we're going to put the bumper back on again to see how it looks through the front of the grille and if it's in the right position. Once happy with the position, I then found a drill bit that was the same diameter as the hole on the bracket for the horn. And then carefully made a hole through the plastic. Don't push too far or you'll go through your air conditioning condenser as well. For some reason my camera didn't record me actually putting the holes in, but you can see they're now up on the plastic. Next, to get this electrical Vaseline, this is just going to protect the terminals on the horn and the wires so they don't corrode too quickly. So just put loads of this Vaseline stuff on the end of the connectors for the wires and then add some to the end of the connectors on the horns as well. Now do check the brackets on the horns before you start to fit them to the car. You want these connectors on each of the horns, once they're fitted, to be hanging off the bottom of the horn. So you might have to rotate the horn and the connectors around on the bracket, so that once they're fitted to the car, both the connectors on both horns are facing down towards the ground. This just means if the horns do get wet and water does go onto them, it's going to run down and fall off the bottom of the connectors. So I just got a washer, a bolt and a screw and attached the horns either side to the front of the grille. I just used this extension here just to try and get them roughly as level as possible against the plastic shroud. Once all the connections were attached to the horns, I then just made them as symmetrical as possible for the plastic tubing and then connected them together in the middle with a cable tie. So yeah, they didn't work, and it's the basics of electrics is I shorted out the connections earlier on when I did them down beside the original horns. I put the two connectors together, the two spade connectors together, and they were shorting out, stopping the horns from working. So what I decided to do was completely tear out this connections altogether and the old Scotch locks that had these wires on, and just put new Scotch locks on and connect them directly to the long bit of cabling and plastic ducting I'd done earlier on. This just kept it a lot neater overall, and it stopped having so many connections in between the horn and the original wiring loom on the car. So back on the bumper and making sure you're connecting up all your parking sensors, the pipes for your washer jets, and also your fog lamps as well. And before fully connecting the bumper back onto the car, I just went into the car, turned on all the lights, the fog lamps, made sure everything's working, making sure the parking sensors were all working as well. And of course, checking the horns to make sure they now work, and perfect, they do. So a modification successfully finished, but there's no way I'm going to get an automotive electrical degree anytime soon. So that's them finished now, and a few mistakes made, but lessons learned from those mistakes during the process. Overall, really pleased with the look of them. They do stand out behind the black grille, and obviously yellow goes with the yellow of the car as well, but they are also incredibly loud as well, so please be careful when testing them. They are super, super loud. Now I'm off to go and fit a wing mirror to the car, and if you're not too sure why I'm doing that, then give this video up here a click and I'll explain the whole story behind it. Also hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, hit subscribe down below to catch more videos from the channel in future, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers! You'll find content on car modification and DIY. Now car horns over the... Car horns, man, speak properly, Kev.